This is Hunter Bledsoe with Baseball Think Tank. Today we're going to be talking about a very important concept, one that I think is neglected within the teaching process of hitters. We spend most, if not all, of our time on mechanics. If you hire a hitting coach, typically they're going to come in and the first thing they're going to do is look at your swing, and then they're going to start looking at how they can improve the mechanics of your swing. And I think that's the wrong place to start. You see a lot of people with good swings who still are bad hitters. And that, in my opinion, is because they have never learned or never been taught that the single most important concept relative to the swing is what happens before the swing. And that has to do with what I term matching the hands and the feet within the load process. What is a load? A load is everything that you do prior to you starting your swing. Now, I would also tell you that you load and the swing starts as you're within the load process. But let's break the load down into what I consider it actually is, and that is two parts. The two parts of a load, meaning the gather and the separation. And those are two distinct parts of a swing. They're connected, there's a flow, there's an energy, but they're two distinct things within the load that must occur. And so let's talk about what gather means, and let's talk about what separation means. Gather, meaning you see the term here, where energy is stored. I have to get something going back before I can ever think about it going forward. Think about a boxer getting ready to throw a punch. You're going to see them, or if you're going to throw your hardest punch, let's say, you're going to think about drawing back, then the punch happens and goes forward. The same principle applies in the load process of having to gather energy, store energy, before then I lead into what the second part of the load is, and that's separation. And let's think about separation for a second, and I have a little demonstration with this rubber band. Separation, as you can see the term underneath, is where stretch occurs. Stretch meaning across my midsection. I need to have the limbs that are on either side of my midsection stretch. So my top hand needs to work away from my lead foot. And if you look at this rubber band, if I just hold one end and I pull the other, there is stretch in the rubber band, but it's not a drastic stretch. If I don't move the front end, but I pull the back end, you see there is stretch, but it's not great stretch. Now what happens if I separate both at the same time? All right, so I have, in essence, my top hand and my lead foot working opposite of each other. You see a great amount of stretch in that rubber band, and that's what you have to think about relative to the separation part of my load, meaning where stretch occurs. I need to have both ends working equal and opposite of each other. Now, what happens in this rubber band? Let's think about matching the hands and the feet. And for this part, let's just talk about the separation part of it. Now, going back to gather, you're going to have to match your hands and your feet in the gather portion of the load, but you do see hitters like Jose Bautista or Manny Ramirez who kind of preset their hands, and so when they had some energy working back in their lower half, they really didn't do a ton with their hands. So let's talk about matching the hands and the feet in the separation, and this will kind of lead into what we're going to be doing in future videos, is separating the two components and demonstrating ways that you can have this effect happen. So matching the hands and the feet within these two sections. All right? And so we're going to talk about, just to end here, a demonstration with the same rubber band about separation and matching the rate, right, of speed. So matching the hands and the feet means not just having them work opposite, but having them work opposite at the same speed. So let's think about if I pull one and go slow with the other. All right, you see how stretch didn't happen as much as in the previous demonstration. Whereas if I do them at the same time, at the same speed, I get a tremendous amount of stretch. And so that is the concept that we're going to be talking about in future demonstrations of how do I match the hands and the feet, both within the gather and the separation. And I'm going to be showing in those videos that not every hitter has to be the same. You don't have to do it the exact same way to get the right effect. For instance, if you watch some great hitters on TV, Albert Pujols may do the load process differently than Jose Bautista. That's okay. They built that around what their swing is, and they built that around how their body best does these two things. But the takeaway is that they all do these two things. And they do them by matching the hands and the feet. And that is why they are able to have good mechanics. If you don't have these things, you will never have a consistent, mechanically sound swing that produces good results. Thanks for your time.